technical session 3. I think the chairperson, Professor Abhyut Ditta Gautam, Associate Professor, Government College for Teacher Education, Himachal Pradesh, is available in the call. I hand over the session to Iman.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. We'll be starting with the technical session 3. The presenters for the session are Dr. Kausar Tasneem, Dr. B. Sanamuga Priya, Dr. Amrita Reenu Abraham, and Gavin Jude Wilson. So we'll be starting with the first presentation. Dr. Kausar Tasneem, are you present? Dr. Kausar? I don't think Dr. Kausar is here on the call.
We can move on to the next person.
Yes. The next one is Dr. B. Sanmuga Priya. Dr. B. Sanmuga, are you here? Dr. Sanmuga, are you here, please? I don't think Dr. B. Sanmuga is also present here. Dr. Amrita Reenu Abraham.
Yes, I am present, ma'am.
All right, welcome to the session. And Dr. Amrita is an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology in CMS College, Kottayam, Kerala. And you would be speaking, your paper's topic is Capitalism and Celebration of Culture in Advertisements, Social Implications in Indian Society.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can you please start, ma'am?
Yes, okay. Respected Chair and dear co-presenters, a warm good afternoon to one and all. As mentioned by our Chair, my presentation is titled as Capitalism and Celebration of Culture in Advertisements, Social Implications in Indian Society. Advertisements in visual media have great importance and role in the present capitalist society as effective marketing strategies. In India, it is observed that the popular culture took the past in a massive way as it has social and cultural legitimacy. In other words, the celebration of culture in advertisements is to be viewed as a simple manifestation of economic activity intended towards the commodity sale. According to the famous postmodern thinker Frederick Jameson, capitalism has an inherent force for its survival and extension, and in the era of multinational corporations, it has turned culture into a profitable industry. Religion has been an integral part of Indian society. Aspects connected to religion have great influence over the psyche of Indian society. This unique feature is well exploited by capitalism for their commodity promotion through the advertisements based on cultural themes. Advertisements based on cultural themes and traditional rituals and festivals are purely economic activities aimed at increasing the commodity sale and profit. But apart from this manifest function of profit making for capitalists, or perhaps it may be a dysfunction for consumers, this recent trend in advertisement is having many latent social consequences or implications. It can be noticed that the revival as well as expansion of religious rituals through advertisements has been encouraged by the fundamentalist forces in the country as well for the propagation of their vested interest. At the same time, the attribution of religious-based vested interest in the content of advertisement is a new strategy of the fundamental forces to manipulate the religious sentiments of common people. I am specifically referring to the advertisement by Tanishq Jewellery in 1920. The social developments on the advertisement by Tata Group jewellery brand Tanishq presents the relevant ground for a sociological analysis. Case 1. The advertisement Egathom. The 43-second advertisement promoting a jewellery line called Egathom from Tanishq social media has been severely attacked by a group. The advertisement features a Hindu daughter-in-law of a Muslim family. It depicts a traditional ceremony similar to the present-day baby shower. In the advertisement, the daughter-in-law is surprised by the colorfulness of the celebration and mentions to her mother-in-law that the ritual is not followed in her family. Gifting her a jewelry, the mother-in-law affectionately replies that the ceremony is to keep her happy, treating her as daughter instead of a daughter-in-law. The daughter-in-law in the ad was deeply moved by the gesture of the ritual and expresses her gratitude to her in-laws for the acceptance of her faith. But the brand, on the allegation that the ad promoted what they called love jihad, first disabled the comments and likes and dislikes on it, posted to Facebook and YouTube. Later, they have been forced to withdraw the advertisement, stating that the decision was made keeping in mind the well-being of their employees and partners. Case 2. Tanish's Deepavali advertisement. Less than a month after the withdrawal of advertisement Egatham, due to the violent attack alleging love jihad, Tata Group's jewelry brand Tanish has been compelled to partially withdraw another advertisement due to severe criticism on social media. The advertisement, based on the theme of Deepavali, had included the following dialogue by the actors. I'm hoping to meet my mom after really long, definitely not firecrackers. I don't think anybody should light any firecrackers, but lot of diyas. Along with the intended promotion of the brand, the advertisement implicitly spread a message against widespread use of firecrackers in connection with Deepavali every year in most parts of India, posing danger to both people and the environment. However, a group of people became offended at the advice to avoid firecrackers during the festival. Some of the protesters tweeted against the advice given to Hindus about the norms and manners of celebrating their own festival. The apparently neutral advertisement suddenly got a radical religious dimension, and according to sources, the 50-second ad has been withdrawn from Twitter and YouTube except in Instagram. In this case also, the sudden turn in the events demands close sociological introspection. Coming to the findings and discussion. In the case first, the Tanishq brand had to withdraw the advertisement on the allegation of promoting love jihad. Love jihad is a term that got currency recently and is used mainly by radical Hindu groups. Some other religious groups are also using this terminology recently to refer to the marriage of Hindu women by Muslim men as part of deliberate strategy of their hidden agenda of conversion. The depiction of traditional ceremony as the theme by jewelry brand is definitely a marketing strategy. However, inherent message of unity and communal harmony seems to be appreciable. These events got a totally unexpected turn on the allegation of love jihad. A sociological analysis of the entire episode reveals the following aspects. It has been said that good controversy is better than good advertising. In effect, this controversy added to the Tanish's visibility, brand reputation, and value with great positive reporting. However, its deeper social implications require more serious attention. Interreligious marriages are never a smooth affair in India. However, in spite of negative social sanction against interreligious marriage, it has been regarded as a spontaneous affair of personal choice, attraction, and love. But the very framing of the term love jihad and accusation on this basis is a recent development and has got more far-reaching implications in a multi-religious country like India. Attempts of attack on advertisements on this basis can be regarded as increasing hold of fundamentalist agenda in the country. The incident also draws attention towards institution of arranged marriage in India that are arranged strictly according to the caste and religious considerations. In fact, this very institution is responsible for many of the social evils and social divisions intact. The case 2, which is about the attack on the advertisement on Deepavali, also reveals the cunning agenda of fundamentalists to manipulate every single opportunity and take advantage by evoking religious sentiments. Earlier, the intentions behind the accusation were against advertisements were on a rational grounds. That means there were criticisms against content of some advertisements earlier also, but the basis, the ground was purely rational. It is true that it is the eye on profit that motivates the capitalism to rely on the cultural themes, making the fat cat more fattier. Coming to the conclusion, the recent incidents reveal that the fundamentalists, on the one hand, encourage the advertisement and the media content based on the cultural themes, but on the other hand, negatively manipulate them to promote their vested interest and hegemonic ideology. As a result, now the very spontaneous human relations are getting new but dangerous connotations. In this context, nothing seems neutral and apolitical. Even the cultural turn in the postmodern or late modern society to cater to the interests of capitalism, as mentioned by Jameson, is cunningly manipulated by the fundamentalist groups of hegemonic ideology. The findings of the paper throw light into the need for raising public awareness on the profit motive of the capitalist strategies, as well as the divisive motive of the fundamentalists. The paper points towards the urgency of serious deliberations on this aspect. Thank you.
Dr. Amrita, thank you so much for sharing your paper with us. And it was indeed a very important topic that you have taken up. Though you are in the Department of Sociology, you have mentioned how, in the guise of an economic activity, actually the religious sentiments of the people are played with. And it is, in fact, a very well formulated paper. So congratulations. Can you please switch on your camera if you can?
Pardon?
Can you switch on your camera, please?
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation. Indeed, it was a very interesting paper. And in fact, we also had a new perspective towards this, the theme of advertisements and religious sentiments that are actually played with, how the people's religious sentiments are played with in the paper through advertisements. Any questions from the audience, please? Anyone would like to ask Dr. Amrita anything? I don't think anyone would want to ask her. No, I don't think so, ma'am. Anyone would want to ask. Thank you so much for sharing the paper with us.
Okay, then thank you.
Okay, so we move on to the next presenter. I think Gavin Jude Wilson has just joined. Are you here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, can you please switch on your camera?
Hello.
Okay, good. Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Good afternoon, ma'am.
I think your paper is on cultural nuances, New Zealand and American Janet's frames living in Maniototo. Okay, so
yes.
Please proceed with your paper. Thank you.
Can I begin? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir, please, you may go ahead.
Yeah. So my paper is titled Cultural Nuances, New Zealand and America in Janet Frames Living in the Minneototo. The literary history of New Zealand has been very interesting and fertile area for research and study. Though an integral part of the Commonwealth, its literature has not been explored like other countries of the Commonwealth. This paper is an attempt to explore New Zealand literature in particular and a New Zealand woman writer of great distinction and acclaim, Janet Frame. Having a number of novels to her credit, Janet Frame is a very prolific writer. The novel which I'm going to focus on in this paper is Living in the Minneototo, 1979. The novel tells the story of a writer, Mavis Hallenton, who has survived the death of two husbands and her attempt to get back her life on track and her writing. The novel traces her life in New Zealand and America, where she visits some old friends. Life in New Zealand and America is very different. From the very laid-back countryside life in New Zealand to the life in America, to the life in an American city is a great adjustment for the narrator. In America, she expects to live in a quiet home of her friends who are on a holiday and rejuvenate her creative writing. However, as typical of life, all does not go as planned, and there is a curious turn of events. There's a twist at the end of the tale of the novel. Mavis, battling depression and mental illness, has imagined everything and has happened that happens at the house where she is staying. This paper will attempt to explore the differences in Mavis's life in New Zealand and America and attempt to understand the cultural nuances seen in the novel Living in the Toto from a woman's perspective. The novel begins with the narrator telling us about her life in New Zealand. We are told about the narrator in a quite lofty fashion, as if it were something very much to be proud of. Do you know, I have buried 2 husbands. The narrator Mavis was first married to Louis Barwell, a drain layer who died at 42, and they had 2 children, Noel and Edith. She then married Lance Hallenton, a French teacher who died at the age of 50 after he switched a career and became a debt collector with whom she had no children. Therefore, she has had to change her surname twice. Her maiden name, Mavis Furness, then Mavis Barwell, and later Mavis Halton. The novel traces Mavis's life both in New Zealand and America. The novel is like a play. It has a prologue with 3 chapters wherein the writer in the first chapter introduces us to the people and places so as to make us familiar with who we are going to be reading about and the locales where the action of the novel will take place. Interestingly, the second chapter of the prologue tells us about another side of Mavis. She is a professional ventriloquist and goes by the name of Violet Pansy Proddock. As the narrator of the novel, she is Alice Thumb. All these names referring to the same person can become quite a riddle sometimes. In the third chapter of the prologue, the narrator tells us about her visit to the United States, where she spent time with her friend, the Californian poet, as she refers to her first husband's friend, Brian, in Baltimore, and later at the house of the Garretts in Berkeley Hills, where she stays since they were going for a vacation to Italy and didn't mind giving her the home as she was a writer to live in, so that she would have a congenial environment to work on her next novel.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you. I think the connection is lost. Can you please log out and join in again?
Part 1 of the novel introduces us to the narrator's life in Bellingham, a suburb in Auckland, New Zealand. Bellingham was created city where the biggest building is the Heavenfield Mall and not like the traditional suburbs, a cathedral, community hall, concert hall, etc. It is therefore a consumer's paradise enhanced. This new suburb was named after a famous victory. It is a place of defeat and unhappiness, she says at one point. The narrator spent many years in Bellingham in her Burn Field Road at Takapuna and Kaka Valley. These are the things she refers to when she talks about her location. The narrator's first marriage to Louis was not a very happy one, with whom she spent 20 years. At the time of this narration, her 2 children, Noel and Edith, from this marriage are adults with their own families. Noel is in New Zealand and Edith in London. Towards the end of his days, Louis spoke about Bellingham in New Zealand and Berkeley in the United States, where she would go later as twin cities. The narrator by this time had written 2 novels, The Green Fuse and Lichen Like Fire. With some money left by Louis after his death, she traveled to Spain, the UK, and the US, where she stayed with Brian Wilford at Baltimore. He was a close friend of Louis's, and she had met him on his first visit to Auckland. The narrator's second marriage was to Lance Halton, who had lost his wife in a car crash. she was very fascinated by the reputation that Lance had as a teacher of French in a school. They had both lost their spouses and had begun to admire each other. He admired her for she was a writer, and she admired him for his impeccable reputation as an excellent, passionate French teacher. The marriage was more one of convenience. However, they did enjoy each other's company and their taste in art. The marriage was one of convenience, as I said. However, they did not enjoy each other's company, and they did enjoy each other's company. I'm sorry, and their taste in art. The marriage, however, took a curious turn when Lance decided to switch professions and become a debt collector. This shocked the narrator. His whole personality, his attire, his manner of speaking, all underwent a complete change. He began working for a debt collection firm whose boss was Rob Goodtree. Lance was even good at debt collection. In fact, he was so good that he was put in charge of the Albert Weiland file and given a chance to hunt him down. Weiland being one of the biggest conmen in New Zealand. He had cheated so many people that he was the most wanted man in Ballinheen. The narrator tells us that Lance could never hurt a flea. He was afraid he was not the typical New Zealander. He had never
Mr. Wilson, I think we've lost the connection again. Could you please wind up the paper and we can move on to the next presenter? I could see Dr. Kausar has joined. Dr. Kausar Tasneem. Can you hear me? Dr. Kausar? We could just wait for Mr. Wilson to join back again. I think he has left the meeting. He might join again. Hello, Shalja ma'am. Good evening.
Very good evening, ma'am. Very good evening.
So we've already had two presentations. Dr. Kausar, I think you are on mute. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Have you, please unmute yourself. There is an icon of a mic that is made here. You can just unmute it, please. We can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Am I?
Yes, ma'am. You're audible now. Welcome to this session. I'm sorry again. You're not audible again. Yes, Mr. Wilson.
I'm sorry, my connection just broke, and can I continue now, ma'am?
Ma'am, if you want to continue, can you please just conclude in 2 minutes, because we are moving on to the next presentation. Please kindly conclude in a
I'll just conclude. So what I wanted to do in this paper is I wanted to examine Janet Frame's living in the Minneototo from a cultural perspective, and of course I wanted to show how all the elements of culture studies can be seen in this particular novel. Also, wanted to talk a little bit about, everyday life, community life, life in these two countries, the exploration of society, and all this from a feminist perspective. So the rest of my paper would be, should I continue reading, ma'am, the rest of my paper, or should I just
No,
sum up?
you can just conclude. You can just, yes, you can, please. You can take 2 more minutes.
All right. So the second part of the novel actually takes place in America, where the narrator goes to the Garrett's house in Berkeley, where she stays for a while. She gets news that the Garretts, who have gone to Italy, a country that they love, have died in an earthquake, which rocked the city, where they were at an opera. And then the lawyer tells her that she has now inherited the property. She's inherited property of somebody who, she really didn't know very well about. Anyway, towards the end of the novel, you'll find that 2 more friends of the Garretts come to stay with her. And then finally, she decides that she doesn't want to keep the property, and she gives it to Theo and Zita, who are another couple who live, very close by and are friends with the Garretts. And the irony is, at the end of the novel, 2 things, of course, happening. One is that this whole, part of the novel which she talks about living at the Garrett's place is all a figment of her imagination. The second thing is the conclusion of the novel, where her time, at the Garrett's home is over, and she's supposed to go back to Baltimore, and she books a taxi. The taxi comes bringing the Garretts home, and they are alive, and she's shocked. She doesn't say anything, just gives back the keys to the house, gets in the same taxi, and goes away. On the way, she thinks that she should tell Theo and Zita that, she can't give them the home because it's not her home to be giving it to them, and the Garretts are back from Italy. Furthermore, she then, goes back to Baltimore, where she was living with Brian, her first husband's friend. And there, of course, throughout this time, she was wanting to call him, and she thought he was still in Europe. But during the time that she was not in Baltimore and she was in Berkeley, he had actually died. And when she goes back, of course, Gloria, his sister, is there to tell her this news. She's quite stunned about all the turns of events. And then the novel ends, of course, with her returning back to New Zealand. So that's what Living in the Miniatura is all about. And it's something new because to me, because this is a writer from New Zealand, Janet Frame, and it's pretty interesting. I picked up her novel a couple of months back, and I thought it would be a good novel to write this paper on. So I hope I've done justice to it. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing this paper with us. And I think indeed it was a very engaging paper, very interesting also. And something new, talking about literature of New Zealand. We've not heard about it. It's one of the Commonwealth nations, as you had mentioned, that the literature of this country has not been explored as much. So congratulations to you for working.
Thank you so much.
And you picked up a novel which was written in 1979. So not picking up the latest news. Yes. So that is also commendable.
No. I was looking at literature written in all these different countries, and I came across Janet Frame, and I read a couple of her other novels like Scented Gardens for the Blind, Owls Do Cry, The Rainbirds, and I'm kind of intrigued by her writing. And then I got 2 more novels from my friend in New Zealand, The Carpathians, and now and Living in the Miniatura. So I decided to write this paper on Living in the Miniatura because it had something to do with culture studies and things like that.
Yes, very, very apt, and I must congratulate you. It was very engaging, a very well-researched paper.
Thank you.
And we really, at least I enjoyed listening to your paper. Any questions from the audience? We can have it. Anybody in the audience who would want to ask something or discuss about something? And you have done it because you wanted to show the feminist perspective of narration.
Yes, because the whole perspective, the narrator's perspective is from a feminist perspective. Yes.
Feminist point, and she's the writer.
Yes, it's pretty complicated. It gets a little complicated here and there because you don't know who you're dealing with and who's who and stuff like that at some point of time. But it was nice.
But I think then analysis is all about complications, dealing with the complications, and you've done very well. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your paper.
Thank
We'll move
you.
on to the next paper, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, have a good afternoon. Bye.
So, Dr. Kausar Tasneem, we have been waiting for you. I think your paper was the first in the session. So
Okay,
please,
good afternoon, ma'am.
good afternoon, ma'am. And the title of your paper is Examining Folk Art as a Cultural Symbol. And ma'am, you are from the Department of History from the Karim City College, Jamshedpur. So welcome to the session, and please go ahead with your paper.
Just a moment, ma'am.
Yes, sure. You are pretty much audible now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're sharing the screen?
Yeah, just a moment.
Okay, yeah, sure. Please take your time.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, the chairperson. A very good afternoon to all of you and all the other fellow presenters. The title of my paper is Examining Folk Art as a Cultural Symbol. So I would like to begin by giving a few definitions of what culture is. E.B. Taylor says that culture is that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, moral law, customs, and any other capabilities and habits. MacGregor defines culture as the expression of our nature in our modes of living and our thinking intercourse in our literature, in religion, in recreation. Yes. Okay. And then we have another definition by H.T. Mazumdar, who says culture is the total human achievements, material and non-material, capable of transmission sociologically, that is by tradition and communication, vertically as well as horizontally. What are the elements of culture? Culture is expressed in music, songs, paintings, symbols, performances, dance, and architectural forms. Paintings form a part of the tangible cultural expressions. Folk art is deep-rooted in the cultural fabric of our society and also has an intimate connection to the geography of the region. There are certain aspects of culture. You can identify 3 aspects of a given culture. The culture is a pattern of behavior, culture is learned, and it is transmitted from one generation to the next. Folk art is deep-rooted in the cultural fabric of the society and also has an intimate connection to the geography of the region. Like Mithila paintings present the local paintings that are there, which present the Hindu mythology, and this is the essence of the local folk connotations, which seamlessly blend with the Brahminical tradition. Hence, it is said that in case verbal expressions have been combined with ritualistic expressions to produce a complete art tradition. This art is domestic in nature and has never been patronized in recorded history. Patronage has been associated with men. Rani Jha, a Madhubani painter, says that through Madhubani art, women have found ways to express themselves. Folk art has connotations of a common culture and is used for common people whose social relations are characterized by strong cohesiveness and whose members indirectly and as well as indirectly interact with each other. Folklore is an oral narrative expressed in vernacular cultural forms. The earliest paintings which have been historically recorded and has evidence are those of the rock paintings of Bhimbetka. The cave of Bhimbetka was discovered in 1857-58 by eminent archaeologist D.S. Vakankar. Painting has always been an important form of human expression, and these paintings have been classified into several categories. These include paintings of music, dance, hunting, horse, elephants, riders, animal fighting, honey collection, and so on. The finest example of Indian paintings, are those of the Ellora, followed by the Ajanta. The frescoes of Ajanta and Ellora take the art of painting to its greatest height unparalleled not only in India but also in the world. Ages were witness to the Mughal style of
Ma'am,
painting, which
sorry
were a
to.
blend of. Yes, ma'am.
Are you moving the slides? We can see only the first slide.
Introduce the first slide.
Yeah, we are on the definitions of culture. Only this one is visible.
Okay. Okay.
Elements
Okay,
of culture
this was my
slide.
second slide, which gives the definitions of culture. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is visible, but I think you had moved on to the other slides, but it was not visible.
Okay. This is the slide about the elements of culture, which I
Yes.
expressed just now.
Yes. Okay, fine.
Okay. This is about the aspects of culture which we're talking about, that it is transmitted, it is learned, and it is a pattern of behavior which moves from one generation to the other. This is another slide which was about the folk art. And how it had its origin. The folk art, this was another slide about the evidence of the first paintings that we have. And this is about the medieval ages, which were witness to the Mughal style of painting, which were a blend of Persian and Islamic styles and existed between 16th to the 19th century. Rajput style of paintings also developed during this period. The themes were events of Ramayana and Mahabharata, human beings, and natural splendor. Contemporary of Mughal paintings, there are miniature paintings also. These are further classified as Rajasthani and Pahari style of paintings. Mysore style of paintings developed in Karnataka, which centered around religious themes. Tanjore paintings also are a form of South Indian paintings, which developed in the Tanjore area of Tamil Nadu. The three main themes in the Madhubani art, Hindu mythological figures and scenes from sacred texts, are very common and dominate the painting. Religion, social scenes, and elements of nature are to be seen. There are different categories of these paintings. These paintings are categorized into 5 different categories, and they are very distinct from each other. These are Bharni, Kachni, Tantrik, Godana, and Kohbar. The artists who are performing the Mithila art, they use all natural for color. Bamboo form the brushes of the artists. Sometimes matchsticks and pen nibs were also from kusum, flat black from suit with and yellow from cat or from palash flower. The colors are mostly prepared by the artists themselves. The mother goddess, so a variety of fertility symbols like flowers and plants are also used. The paintings are popular because of their tribal motifs and bright earthy colors. The chief aim of the paintings was to present the Hindu mythology in graphic form. Both the practitioners and professionals of this traditional art form are driven by love for nature and devotion for the Hindu deities. Madhubani paintings are associated with the Tantric culture of ancient India. Mithila region of Bihar has been the center of Tantric practices of Shiva and Shakti cult. Madhubani paintings is done mostly by women. Brahmins use bright colors and religious themes. Kayas who symbolize fertility use motifs like lotus, birds, fish, tortoise, parrots, etc. And Dosars and Chamars occupy the lowest strata of society who are traditionally not allowed to paint gods use tattoo or Godana paintings. There are 3 distinct styles of paintings: wall paintings or Bhitti Chitra, canvas paintings or Pattachitra, paintings or Aripana. This art also gives expression to the caste system. where different castes practice different. The first encounter of the artist with international audience was Expo 70 in Japan, and then the UNCTAD, United Nations Conference for Trade and Development in New Delhi. There are at present 38 training centers in Bihar, with 21 centers in North Bihar and 17 centers in South Bihar. Traditionally, the women who practice this form of art in the villages use it as an opportunity to create awareness on social issues and to empower women. Paintings like the abortion clinic made in 2004 and the Breaking the Curtain by 2011 by artist Rani Jha was created to bring about social awareness. Artists like Karpuri Devi and Mahalakshmi and Dulari are playing very key roles in creating social awareness. As a form of symbol, sometimes colors also designate different things for and they are taken as a symbol to symbolize a particular emotion of the people. Sometimes animals are also utilized as a symbol of a certain emotional expression. This way, painting as a cultural symbol gave a strong medium of expression to convey emotion as well as cultural symbols who have a very strong impact on.
Okay, ma'am. So, is it over, the presentation? We can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, now you're audible. So thank you so much for this beautiful presentation, your slideshow on the folk art as a symbol of culture. And I'm sure everyone would agree that you have delved really very well, deeply into the paintings and how art has been used to depict culture in India. And you have also elaborated on how the different forms of paintings have been used, by different painters at different ages, and how the natural ingredients have been used, and the themes of the paintings have mostly been Mahabharata and Ramayana. And in the modern age, of course, you talked about the abortion clinics also to create awareness. So I think it was a beautiful presentation, and you have, actually kind of elaborated on every little detail. And it was a very, you can say, very, very magnanimous presentation. And thank you so much for this. And I don't think I would have to, I have any questions to ask, but I would ask the audience if they have anything to ask from ma'am, Kausar ma'am. Any questions from the audiences? From the audience, sorry. I don't think anyone would want to ask. So thank you so much, Dr. Kausar Tasneem, for showing us this beautiful presentation. And I'm sure we have really gained a lot of knowledge about paintings in India. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much.
Dr. B. Sanamuga, if you are here, if Dr. Sanamuga is present, then can we have his presentation? I don't think so. And I don't think there are any more presenters here in this session. I would like to ask the admin, the host, the moderator.
We will wind up.
Yes, we'll wind up. Thank you so much.